Have you ever found yourself buying designer clothes or financing a lifestyle you can't really afford? Or maybe you've put off that decision to start investing, thinking there's still time. These behaviors are more common than you think, and unfortunately, they might be ruining your chances of building real wealth. In this video, we're going to talk about the 3 most dangerous financial mistakes many people make without realizing it. If you want to change your financial life and avoid debt, make sure to watch until the end. Mistake number 1. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact of trying to look rich before actually being rich? We see this all the time. Designer bags, expensive watches, luxury cars. But the question no one asks is, does this truly reflect wealth? Or is the person sinking into debt just to maintain that image? In today's video, we're going to discuss the dangerous trap of spending money on luxury items just to impress others. And let me tell you up front, this kind of spending might be pulling you further away from your true dream of financial independence. Stick with me until the end, because I'm going to show you how this could be one of the biggest mistakes you can make if your goal is to become financially free. Now, imagine this scenario. You're scrolling through your social media feed and see a friend posting a picture with those designer sneakers you've always wanted. The caption says something like, "Work hard, play even harder." You immediately think, "Man, I deserve that too." So, you head to the mall, see that shiny display window, and the dilemma begins. You know it's going to cost you a lot, but at the same time, the desire to own that item is too strong. Deep down, it's a way of showing the world and yourself that you've made it, that you're living the dream. But what most people don't realize is that by buying these luxury items, you're trapping yourself in a vicious cycle. Buying designer sneakers or a high-end handbag might make you feel good for a while, but that feeling quickly fades, and then you feel the need to buy something else, and then something else, and so on. With each new purchase, the hole in your pocket gets bigger. What was supposed to be a simple display of success turns into a snowball of debt, interest, and an unsustainable lifestyle. Now, let me tell you a secret. No one's really paying that much attention to what you're wearing or what you have. This may be a little harsh to hear, but it's the truth. Most people are so wrapped up in their own problems and insecurities that they won't even notice if your clothes are branded or if your watch costs a fortune. But here's the bigger issue. While you're trying to impress others, what's really happening is that you're compromising your financial future. The money that could be invested in generating returns is being spent on things that will only lose value over time. That designer outfit will lose value. The luxury car will depreciate the moment you drive it off the lot. And the worst part? Many people go into debt to maintain this image, using their credit card limit or even taking out loans. Want an example? Let's take someone who decides to buy a luxury car. They take out a 60-month loan. And of course, at first, they're excited. The car is amazing, they get compliments, and they feel accomplished. But as the months go by, the payments start to weigh heavy. The maintenance costs are high, the insurance is expensive, and the car keeps depreciating. That initial feeling of success fades, and what's left is the reality that this person is stuck in debt they didn't really need. This all leads us to a fundamental question. What is true wealth? Is it having the most expensive car on the street, the fanciest clothes, or the shiniest watch? Or is wealth something else? For many people, the idea of being rich is associated with freedom. The freedom to do whatever you want with your time, to not worry about bills at the end of the month, to not have to work just to survive. But what happens when you spend your money just to look rich? You're trading that freedom for a temporary image. It's like building a sandcastle on the beach. It looks nice for a while, but as soon as the tide comes in, it collapses, and you're left with nothing. True wealth isn't in the things you buy, but in what you build over time. Wealth is when you can live with peace of mind, without having to prove anything to anyone. When your money is working for you, not the other way around. So, what's the moral of the story? Spending on luxury items to appear rich isn't just a financial trap, it's an illusion. In the end, you could end up poorer than when you started, with accumulated debt and an unsustainable lifestyle. Instead of focusing on what others think, focus on what really matters. Investing in yourself, in your future, and in your true financial freedom. The key is to understand that money is a tool to be used wisely. You don't need to look rich to be successful. True wealth is silent. It comes with time, patience, and above all, wise choices. So, the next time you're tempted to spend a fortune on something just to impress others, stop and think. Is it really worth it? Or are you throwing away the chance to build something much bigger and more lasting? The choice is yours. Enjoying the video? Give it a thumbs up and hit the like button. Your support helps us create more content to help you achieve financial success. Mistake number 2. Have you ever found yourself paying off a credit card bill and wondered, how did I get here? It happens much more often than you might think, especially among young people. Suddenly, that impulse purchase, the expensive gift, or the dream vacation turns into a mountain of debt. And the worst part, often, all of this was paid with money you didn't even have. Today, we're going to talk about a growing but rarely discussed issue: using credit to sustain a lifestyle you can't actually afford. If you've ever been through this or know someone who is in this situation, stick with me until the end because I'm going to show you how this can be a major cause of personal bankruptcy and what you can do to avoid this disaster. Imagine this scenario. It's Friday night, your friends invite you out, and of course, you don't want to miss out. The week has been tough. You deserve to relax, right? But there's one small detail. Your bank account is nearly empty. But then you look at your credit card and think, oh, I'll pay this off later. It won't be a problem. But this story repeats itself, not just with nights out, but also with birthday gifts, new clothes, and even last-minute trips. Little by little, without you noticing, the credit card bill starts to grow. The problem is that when we use credit, the immediate feeling of spending money fades. You don't feel the immediate impact of the purchase. Everything seems fine until the bill arrives, and you realize the account doesn't balance. That's when the nightmare begins. You pay the minimum, the interest accumulates, and suddenly, what seemed like a simple purchase turns into a snowball of debt that becomes increasingly difficult to control. But why does this happen so often with young people? Part of the problem lies in the easy access to credit. Financial institutions offer high-limit credit cards to people who are often just starting their professional lives. It's almost like they're giving you a false sense of financial freedom. You start spending, believing you can afford a lifestyle you haven't yet earned. But the bill, literally, comes sooner or later. And credit card interest rates can be devastating. In some cases, they can exceed 300% per year. That means if you spent $1,000 today and can't pay off that debt immediately, it could turn into $3,000 in no time. And what was supposed to be a night out with friends, a gift for someone, or an amazing trip ends up turning into sleepless nights, worry, and even personal bankruptcy. And here's a crucial point: social pressure. We live in a world where appearances matter a lot. Social media bombards us with images of friends traveling to amazing places, buying designer clothes, dining at expensive restaurants, and it creates a sense that we need to keep up. It seems like if you're not keeping pace, you're falling behind. But there's one detail no one tells you. Many of those people who seem to be living the dream are also drowning in debt. They're buying things they can't afford, piling up credit card debt, and creating an image that doesn't match reality. And all of this to what end? To impress others. The problem is, this need to impress others can cost a lot, literally. Last-minute birthday gift? Credit card. Unexpected night out with friends? Credit card. Weekend trip to a cool place? Credit card. But what about planning? It just disappears. And this lack of financial control is what leads many young people to personal bankruptcy before they even have a chance to build a solid foundation for financial independence. Now, let's talk about what happens when this pattern of debt becomes a constant. The first obvious consequence is stress. There's nothing more distressing than knowing that your monthly income is tied up with past debts. It holds you back, limits you, and makes you lose control over your own money. Moreover, if you're constantly using credit to cover expenses that should be paid with your current money, you're living an artificial lifestyle. You're spending money that, technically, isn't yours. And this not only affects the present, but also compromises your future. Because the longer you delay paying off these debts, the longer it will take to get out of the red. Meanwhile, dreams of buying a house, investing, or even saving for the future become increasingly distant. Not to mention, for many people, this leads to relationship problems. Debts not only affect financial health, but also create tension in friendships, family relationships, and even at work. Because when the worry about money becomes constant, it's hard to focus on other areas of life. In the end, what really matters? Sustaining a lifestyle you can't afford, going into debt just to maintain an image, or prioritizing your financial health, building a solid foundation that will allow you to achieve true freedom in the future. Going into debt to finance outings and gifts might seem harmless at first, but it's one of the main causes of personal bankruptcy. Instead of giving in to social pressure or momentary temptations, the secret is to plan, be aware of your budget, and avoid easy credit. Because, in the end, living within your means today is what will ensure you live without worries tomorrow. The choice is yours. Either you control your money, or it will end up controlling you. Have thoughts or questions about the video? Drop a comment below and let us know. We love hearing from you, and we'll do our best to respond to every comment. Mistake number 3. Imagine you're on a boat, sailing on calm waters, enjoying the scenery. Everything seems peaceful, but without realizing it, you're drifting away from the shore. And when you look again, you're too far out to easily return. This metaphor describes what happens when we neglect saving and investing. Suddenly, years pass, and what started as a simple choice to delay that investment becomes a vast distance that's hard to recover. Today, we're going to talk about how time is your greatest ally in building wealth and why postponing investment can be very costly. Stick with me until the end, because this could be the decision that changes your financial future forever. Let's start with a simple truth. Time is a crucial factor in growing your wealth. And the best way to understand this is through the example of compound interest, which the great Albert Einstein called the most powerful force in the universe. But why is compound interest so powerful? Imagine you invest $1,000. In the first year, you earn $100 in interest. In the second year, instead of earning interest just on the original $1,000, you earn interest on $1,100, and so on. Over time, this snowball effect grows. The earlier you start, the more time you give for this snowball to grow. It's the famous money making money. Now, if you delay starting this process, you're essentially throwing away the years when compound interest could be working in your favor. The problem is that many of us put off today what we should be doing now. We have bills to pay, trips to plan, that gift we want to buy, and suddenly, investing gets postponed. And that's where the danger lies. Each year you delay means less time for compound interest to work, which can result in a huge loss in value over the long term. How many times have you heard or even told yourself, "I'm still young. I have plenty of time to invest"? It's a common thought, especially among young people. But the truth is, time is the one thing you never get back. And in the world of investing, the more time you have, the better. Let's make a simple comparison. Imagine two people. The first, Anna, starts investing $200 a month at 25. She does this for 10 years and then stops investing, but leaves the money to grow until retirement. The second person, Joao, only starts investing at 35, but invests $200 a month until 65. Even though Joao invests for 30 years, he ends up with less money than Anna, who invested for only 10 years. This shows the power of time in growing investments. The moral of the story is clear. It doesn't matter how much you invest. What's important is to start as early as possible. Time is your biggest ally in investing. The earlier you start, the more time you give for your money to grow, even if it's just small amounts. Now, let's talk about what happens when you delay investing. The feeling that you have time can be comforting, but the truth is that each year without investing is a lost year. Imagine this. If you invested $500 a month in a fund that earns 8% per year, after 10 years you would have approximately $91,000. Now, if you delayed for 5 years and started investing the same amount under the same conditions, at the end of the 10 years you would only have about $58,000. That difference of over $30,000 isn't just money you didn't invest, it's money you didn't earn. And if we look at a longer horizon, like 30 years, the difference could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Delaying investing can literally cost a fortune, all because you didn't give compound interest enough time to do its job. Neglecting saving and investing also directly affects your financial security. Without an emergency fund or long-term investments, you become vulnerable to unforeseen events. Lost your job? An economic crisis hits your field? If you don't have money saved or invested, these situations can be devastating. Furthermore, saving and investing aren't just about accumulating wealth. They're about ensuring that you have choices in the future. Want to make a career transition, take a sabbatical, or retire early? All these decisions depend on having a financial cushion. And the longer you delay starting your investment journey, the farther these options get. So why do people continue to delay? The answer often lies in the lack of habit and discipline. The act of saving and investing isn't something we're born with. It's a behavior that needs to be cultivated. Starting small is a great strategy. You might not be able to invest large amounts right away, but simply developing the habit of setting aside part of your income for the future is a significant step. And remember, it's not just about how much you invest, but about consistency over time. Small actions repeated consistently over the years can lead to extraordinary results. Think of it like planting a tree. You don't see the fruit on the first day, but over time, it grows and becomes a source of fruit that can last a lifetime. In the end, the message is simple. Time is your greatest ally in investing. The earlier you start investing, the more you will benefit from the power of compound interest. Neglecting saving and investing can cost you dearly, not only in money but in life opportunities. So stop delaying. Start today, even if it's with a small amount. The future will thank you. Enjoyed the video and want more tips on financial success? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all our latest content. Don't miss out on our upcoming videos and keep progressing on your path to prosperity. Mistake number 4. Have you ever reached the end of the month and asked yourself, where did all my money go? It seems like, all of a sudden, your paycheck vanished and you can barely remember what you spent it on. Believe me, you're not alone. That feeling that money just disappears is very common, and most of the time. The problem lies in something simple but crucial: financial control. Today, we're going to talk about the lack of control over your finances, how it can affect your life, and of course, how to take the first step to solve this situation. Stick with me, because this video could completely change how you manage your money. You know that coffee you buy every day on your way to work? Or that streaming service you barely use but keep paying for? These are the infamous invisible expenses, small costs that, individually, seem harmless, but when added up over the month, could be draining a significant portion of your paycheck. And the worst part? We often don't even realize it. For example, imagine you spend $10 a day on snacks while you're out. That might seem like a small amount, but by the end of the month, that's $300. Now, think about other small expenses you make without planning. A delivery here, a subscription there. When you add it all up, it can reach amounts you'd never have expected. Lack of financial control doesn't necessarily mean you're spending large sums all at once. Quite the opposite. It's often those small, unnoticed expenses that, at the end of the month, take up a significant part of your budget. If you're not tracking these costs, they can slip through your fingers without you realizing it. This is where the concept of budgeting comes in. And before you think budgeting is boring, know that it's simply a roadmap for your money. Without a budget, it's like driving without GPS. You might reach somewhere, but you'll probably get lost along the way, spend more fuel than you should, and end up frustrated. A budget shows you exactly where your money is going. It doesn't need to be something complicated or full of rules. In fact, the simpler, the better. What's important is to have clarity on how much you're earning, how much you're spending, and most importantly, how much you're saving. There are various ways to do this: jotting down expenses in a notebook, using a spreadsheet on your computer, or even using apps that make the process easier. The important thing is to find a method that works for you and, most importantly, that you can stick to. Now, let's talk about the consequences of not having this control. The lack of a clear budget might seem harmless at first, but in the long run, it can cause a lot of problems. The most obvious one is debt. Without knowing exactly where your money is going, many people end up relying on credit to cover expenses that could have been avoided with basic planning. Another common issue is the lack of an emergency fund. If you don't have financial control, it's unlikely you'll be able to save for unexpected events. And trust me, unexpected events happen. A job loss, a health problem, an unexpected expense. If you don't have money set aside, what should be a temporary setback can turn into a full-blown financial crisis. Moreover, the lack of control over spending also prevents you from investing in the future. The money that could be used to build your financial independence ends up being wasted on things that don't really add value to your life. And before you know it, too much time has passed without building anything for the long term. And it's not just your finances that suffer. Lack of control over your money also affects your mental health. The feeling that you're always scrambling to catch up, living paycheck to paycheck, generates stress, anxiety, and even depression. You start to feel like money is controlling you, rather than you controlling your money. This can create a vicious cycle. You get stressed about not having enough money, so you make impulsive purchases to try to feel better. Those purchases increase your financial problems, which leads to more stress, and so on. To break this cycle, you need to regain control of your budget and spending habits. But don't worry, there's a solution. The first step is simple. Stop and write down all your expenses, at least for a month. It might seem tedious at first, but it's the only way you'll truly understand where your money is going. And believe me, just the act of recording your expenses often makes you rethink certain purchases. Once you have a clear view, the next step is to categorize your expenses. How much are you spending on food? And on entertainment? Transportation? This will help you identify areas where you can cut back or make adjustments. Another important tip is to use the 50/30/20 rule to create your budget. This method suggests dividing your income into 3 categories: 50% for needs, rent, bills, food, 30% for wants, entertainment, travel, gifts, and 20% for savings and investments. Of course, this breakdown can vary depending on your situation, but it's a great starting point for organizing your money in a healthier way. Remember, financial control doesn't need to be drastic. Small changes can yield big results. For example, Instead of spending $10 every day on breakfast outside, why not prepare something at home? Or, instead of having multiple streaming subscriptions, stick to the one you actually use. These small actions, when added up, can make a huge difference to your budget. And most importantly, build the habit of tracking your finances. Just like any habit, it might be hard at first, but over time, it will become second nature. And the reward is huge. More security, less stress, and of course, more money at the end of the month. In short, the lack of financial control might seem like a small issue, but its consequences are enormous. Without a clear budget, you could be losing money without even realizing it. The good news is, it's never too late to change that. With a few simple actions, like tracking your expenses and creating a budget, you can take back control of your financial life and build a more secure and prosperous future. So, what do you say? Ready to start today? Mistake number 5. Have you ever stopped to think that you might be throwing money away every month without even realizing it? No, I'm not talking about impulsive purchases or unnecessary expenses. I'm talking about essential services you use every day, like electricity, internet, and phone services. The problem is, many people pay more than they should simply because they don't compare the available plans. Today, we're going to show you how a little research can help you save a good amount of money at the end of the month. Stick around, because this tip could really change the way you handle your finances. You know that old saying, you get what you pay for? Well, in this case, the opposite can also be true. What seems normal may actually be costing you way more than you think. When was the last time you stopped to review your electricity, phone, or internet contracts? If it's been a long time, or if you've never done it, there's a good chance you're paying more than necessary. Companies in these sectors are constantly rolling out new packages and promotions. The plan you signed up for a year ago, which seemed like the best option at the time, could now be completely outdated compared to the latest offers. And more often than not, providers don't notify their customers about these updates. After all, it's not in their interest for you to pay less. Let's take electricity as an example. Maybe you've lived in the same house for years, paying the electricity bill every month without question. But did you know that in many regions, there are different consumption rates and even alternative suppliers? Depending on your consumption and location, you might be eligible for discounts or able to switch to a plan that better suits your needs. It's not uncommon for people to realize how much they're overspending only when they happen to compare their bill with a neighbor's who has a different plan. Another important point is that simple habits can help reduce your electricity bill, like using appliances more efficiently, replacing light bulbs with LED versions, and even taking advantage of natural light at certain times of the day. Small changes like these, combined with a good review of your plan, can lead to significant savings. The same applies to phone and internet services. The telecommunications market is one of the most competitive, with new providers and promotions popping up all the time. Yet many people are still stuck in old contracts and, worse, are paying for services they don't even use. How often do you really use all those unlimited calls or text message packages? And what about your internet plan? Are you really getting the speeds you're paying for? Or are you being charged for more than you can even use? The issue here is simple. Service providers know that most customers don't regularly review their plans. And, of course, they take advantage of this intention to keep prices high. But the good news is that many companies, in an effort to attract new customers, offer much cheaper plans with additional benefits. The key is to take some time to compare these offers. There's a phenomenon called financial inertia. Basically, it means people tend to keep paying for the same services, even when there are better options available, simply due to lack of time or knowledge. And this behavior is very common when it comes to basic services. After all, who likes spending hours on the phone with a provider to renegotiate a contract, right? It seems easier to stick with what's already working, even if it means paying a bit more. But it's exactly this inertia that leads to accumulated waste over time. Imagine you're paying 50 Brazilian reals more per month for an internet service that could be cheaper. That's 600 Brazilian reals a year you're losing. Money that could be invested elsewhere or saved for an emergency. The solution? Compare and negotiate. It seems simple, but it's something that can make a huge difference. Here's a basic step-by-step to help you start saving on basic services. Review your contracts. Gather the latest bills for your electricity, phone, and internet services. Look at how much you're paying for each service and the terms of the contract. Research new options. Use the internet to your advantage. There are price comparison websites that show the best deals available in your region. Some platforms even allow you to simulate your electricity consumption to find the best rate for your usage. Negotiate with providers. After identifying cheaper packages or better benefits, contact your current provider and see if it's possible to renegotiate your contract. Many times, companies offer better deals to retain customers, but only if you ask. Regularly track promotions. The telecom and energy markets are constantly changing. What's beneficial today might not be tomorrow. So, make it a habit to review your plans every 6 months or, at the very least, once a year. You might think that saving a few bucks on each service won't make much of a difference, but over the long term, these small savings can add up to a significant amount. Remember the financial inertia we talked about earlier? When you let go of the idea that it's not worth it to make changes, you'll start to realize that small adjustments in your daily life can make a big impact on your wallet. So, if you want to start saving for real, the first step is to take a look at the basic services you use every day. Reassessing your contracts, researching new options, and negotiating with providers could be the key to reducing your monthly expenses and using your money more wisely. After all, paying less for the same services isn't just savings, it's smart financial management. And you? Have you compared your plans today?